Red Peaches and Crickets, welcome back to Sound the Siren. I'm Xavier.
I'm Dylan. Welcome back to the conclusion of the three-part series where we review six AFL teams season each episode. And today for the final one, we have a special guest. He's familiar to the podcast. Darce, how are you today?
Yeah, going all right, mate. Going all right.
And
Looking forward to
before
it.
we get into it, 53% of our viewers are not subscribed. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. It helps us out. And I hope you enjoy the videos. And we may as well get stuck into it. Who wants to kick us off with Darce's team, North Melbourne?
I think Darce is the guest, so he can go first, I reckon.
So obviously not a good season. Plain and simple. Just not much good going on. So honestly, my pros for that one, I only really have progression of Nick Larkey, Jai Simpkin, bit of Luke Davies Uniacke. They're all looking pretty positive. And there's a few blokes looking a bit classy around the edges. Bit of a Hayden fan, if I can say so myself. And Zerha's not progressed too much, but I don't know, he looks pretty good.
I'm not going to disagree with you too much, but I do think you have a plethora of young players. It is going to be a painful season for you, and maybe even the next decade, maybe even longer. They have to develop their youth, as you said, and continue to collect their draft picks. They have a lack of goal kickers, which might be an issue in the next few years. I believe they still have an indistinct future, but for Darcy's sake, let's hope they can flip the switch and be contenders again.
My pros for North Melbourne, there aren't many of them, but as Darcy said, Jai Simpkins' first half of the year was incredible. And Luke Davis-Uniacke, his second half of the season, he showed a lot of promise. And I think North Melbourne has a real player there and he can be very good in the future.
What's your grade for the Roos, Darce?
Look, I was a bit nice to him, honestly. Could have gone a lot harder. But I went a D minus. Couldn't win a game really. Morale of the club looks down. Lots of rumours surrounding some of our better players. Just didn't look like a great season all around.
I've given them an E. It might be a bit harsh. 17th on the ladder. The coaching staff is in shambles, and I'd almost say Adelaide had more positives this year. No offense to you, Das. Also, thoughts with Reece Shaw after he's taken personal leave. It's been announced in the last hour or so. Hoping for a speedy recovery with the issues he's dealing with.
Yeah, as you said, thoughts are with him. Hopefully he can come back and coach the Roos again, but it's not looking so likely. I gave North Melbourne an F. I don't see any real positives apart from Simpkin and LDU, as I said before. But I think they only had the 3 wins, and I think they lack identity. They've dropped everyone from Ben Brown to Jared Pollock, and they've delisted everyone that they didn't drop. They're looking at getting a new coach, and many of their players are looking to leave. We've seen rumours about Sean Higgins. Ben Brown said he wants to leave and he's not coming back. They've got Cunnington, he's going to stay, but it looked like they were shopping around Todd Goldstein as well for a while, but he seems like he's going to be staying. So, yeah. I think if I could go for any team in the league, I think they'd be about the last I pick.
Yeah, agree.
I think they're going to be in for a long. You agree? I think they're going to be in for a long dark period, similar to Carlton has been for my lifetime. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be very good for a long time now.
I'd have to say Essendon's just about in that paddock as well.
Yeah, for sure. All their players seem to be leaving as well. So, yeah, Essendon and North Melbourne, I think, would just about be the 2 worst teams in the league to go for right now.
Yeah, at least for Essendon, though, they're a big club. They should bounce back pretty quickly. North's a bit down the dumps. So
now to Tigerland, Richmond. There's positives upon positives for this team, really. I'd love to go for them 2 premierships in the last 3 years, maybe another one up and coming this year. Shy Bolton, an impressive revelation, and the unanticipated surfacing of guys like Noah Bolter, Jake Arts, who unfortunately isn't playing in tonight's preliminary final against Port Adelaide. Great season from the Tigers, and who knows, they might finish with another flag.
Yeah, my pros for Richmond, as you said, Bolter and Bolton have both come along leaps and bounds this year, but I think my number one pro for them is their ability to fight through all of their injuries and continue to win. We saw them finish top four, but they've been riddled with injury all year, which I'll get into with the cons. But yeah, that's my pros for them.
Yeah, I had similar. I had Bolton, and I also had Baker. Baker's looking pretty good. Another pro I had was, I was looking through it, and the majority of their list is still in their 20s. So it looks like they're loaded to go for another 3-4 years, to be honest. Not looking forward to all the talk from Tigers fans if they do last that long, but I reckon they could.
Certainly could. I really don't have many negatives. Dave, you touched on injuries. You want to get into that a little bit deeper?
Yeah, so my cons were injuries to key players in particular, as well as other key players missing time for a variety of different reasons. We saw Cochin, Hooley, Dylan Grimes, Shane Edwards, they all missed significant time. And also Lynch I think is a bit of a negative for me. I think he's been reported 5 or 6 times, or being fined 5 or 6 times for the year. I think that's probably a pretty bad look on not only the football club, but Lynch in particular. And what do you guys think about
that? Yeah, so Lynch was definitely one of my negatives. With all the controversy that's been surrounding him this year, he could place himself in a Toby Green-like position where I guess he's more hated and probably won't, it'll take less for the MRO to report him or get him suspended based on history and stuff like that. So that's a big negative.
I'm surprised he wasn't suspended. The amount of times he put himself in hot water. We had the stomping issue, the knee to the head just recently against St Kilda, and there was one other issue.
I think they hit on Alex Witherden. I think for me that one probably should have been a suspension. If you look at the table, I think it comes under high, low impact, and intentional, which is classified as 1 week. But obviously he's gotten away so far, and we'll see if maybe he gets reported again tonight. But I don't know. He used to be one of my favourite players when he was on the Gold Coast, but since he's come to Richmond and since he's started to get a bit of this, a bit of a reputation.
Attitude.
Since he's been getting a bit of a reputation as a bit of a dirty player, I have started to, I guess, lose a little bit of respect for him. So hopefully he can tighten up and not give away so many, or not do so many undisciplined acts, let's say.
Now to this mighty team, the Saints, and I'm stoked with how this year's gone for us. So many positives to take away. The 5 inclusions from free agency: Dougal Howard, Zach Jones, the speedster, Dan Butler, who was probably the least known out of the inclusions, and he's probably had the biggest impact on the club. Dan Hannabury's come back well, kind of. I know he's been plagued by injury this year, but the games he played, it was unbelievable. Also Brad Hill, who started off a bit slow, but in the latest final, he wasn't great. But apart from that, he played well. So we've got some youth, we've got some speed to us, and I'm really looking forward to the future.
I did forget to give my grade for Richmond, but real quick, I think theirs is an A, and it will go up to an A+, obviously, if they win the grand final. For St Kilda, as you said, Dan Butler, he had a ripping year, but the one main pro that I want to give to them is that they won a final, and any team that wins a final is obviously a very good team, and they've done so. So well done to them.
Yep. My pro, it was very similar to yours, Xavier. It was first finals campaign in decade, and it looks like they built up some great quality. Some blokes shining through like Steele, Caulfield, Hunter Clark. There's just a lot of potential, a lot of upside on the way.
Yeah, for sure. Jack Steele, I actually forgot about him, but one of the Brownlow favourites and named an All-Australian this year, so shout out to him as well. And won the the St Kilda best and fairest by double the votes or something ridiculous like that. So well done to you.
I've loved watching the midfield develop this year, and even in the forward line, Maxi King's got a bright future. The 1-2 duo with Rowan Marshall and Paddy Ryder. The backman in Carlisle, Benny Patton. I've pretty much named the whole list, but I'm stoked with how this year's gone. The only negatives, or not the only negative, but one of the negatives is the leads we've given up. We blew one against your mob, Darce, in round 1, against Fremantle, against Brisbane, and there's a couple more. So if they can just hold those leads together, we can keep building up the ladder and hopefully move into a top 4 position in the coming years.
Yeah.
My con for St Kilda is Jade Gresham's injury. He's one of the more promising players from St Kilda and was one of their better players all year. And I think it really hurt them and really hurt a lot of their fans as well as their team when he went out for the rest of the remainder of the season. But hopefully he can bounce back next year.
Just off the cuff, quick question. Do you think if the Saints had all their players against Richmond, off the top of my head, I can't think of one, Carlisle, Josh Battle played with a broken foot, Paddy Ryder was out, and there was one other. Do you think if they were all playing, we would have had a better chance in winning?
You'd have a better
Uh,
chance.
Obviously, you'd have a better chance, but I think I still would have given the edge to Richmond. They've been better all year, and obviously they won. So, my target for them is I think they should target youth. Obviously, in previous trade periods, they've gone after players like Bradley Hill and Dan Butler. But I think if they can both hit the draft and try and get a star in maybe in a trade, it'd be really good for them and can go with their other younger players like Hunter Clark and Nick Caulfield. But I think what St Kilda really lack is a out and out star. I think they don't have a Dangerfield, Martin, Bontempelli, Fife, Cripps type of player, and although Steele has been that for them this year. So, but I think another one of those, and they'll be right up there. An A for me.
Yep. So my acquisition for them, it's a bit unexpected, but I'd love to see the King brothers sitting in the St Kilda Ford 50 together, both working in unison and absolutely lighting the competition up. I reckon that'd be amazing to see. And Saints could pull off a trade or somehow sign him, get him down to the Saints, then that'd be amazing. And
I didn't actually even think of that, but you're 100% right. I think that's going to be their target every year for the next 10 years until they get him. So, yeah.
I'm a very optimistic supporter, and I've been thinking about that lately and all this year, and I've just thinking the Twin Towers, Membry, I guess maybe was a con for this year. He lacked a bit of form, but maybe it's the crowds, the scenery. But if we can get the King brothers and the midfield develops, the defenders hold up strong, we could seriously be a contender. But I'm just tooting our own horn here.
I also do want to quickly add, I said they lack a star, but I think Max King could be that person for St Kilda, as well as Ben King if they get him. But Max King showed flashes of him possibly being the best player in the AFL. Obviously, he's young, so he didn't quite do so many things, but he kicked goals, he took marks, and I think for someone of his size, he's elite below his legs or on the floor.
On to the Swannies, a rough season for them. Zave, take it away.
Pros for Sydney is their youth. Ollie Florent, I think he's going to be a ripping player. Will Haywood is very good. Nick Blakey has showed flashes, but he was a little bit down this year. But we all know the type of player he can be, as well as Isaac Keeney when they get him back. And they've just got a plethora of young elite players. So.
Yeah, Rowbottom's looking pretty good.
I was just about to say Rowbottom, yeah.
For sure.
So the positives, I guess you could say Jake Lloyd somehow didn't make the 40-man squad, but a consistent year for him. Callum Mills was good. Dane Rampy. They've just got a really strong back line. And I think the forward line is where they lack an elite player. McCartan is getting there. And maybe if they sign his brother, Paddy McCartan, there's been rumours of that. Who knows? He could develop and potentially help them. But yeah, a rough season for them. Darce, you wanted to say anything on the positives?
For the positives, it's basically just repeating what Xavier said. Their youth is looking ready to step it up a next level, and they could be taking them to the Swans next championship.
Just as far as you thought they lack a bit of a key forward. I know it's probably not the long-term solution, but at least next year and maybe even the year after, I think Buddy Franklin is still a star of this competition if he can stay fit. So. Hopefully he'll have a good year next year.
You're 100% right there, Zave. But for this year, they lacked one. And I guess one of the main positives for the next few years is if Buddy kicks 1,000 goals.
Yeah.
Tony Lockett did in a Swans jumper. I'd love to see Buddy do it, and I'm a fan of him. And yeah, it'd be unbelievable. Once again, players running on the ground, or
Yeah.
fans rather running on the
Reckon
ground.
they'll allow that?
I don't know. With the COVID situation, I think it'll be done by then, but we'll have to wait and see.
I
Well,
don't
I've
reckon
had this
they
argument
would.
a fair few times. If someone was to kick 100 goals, would the crowd rush onto the field? But
Yeah, I reckon it's just a bit of a new day and age with that sort of stuff. The security's stepped it up
I,
a bit.
I think they would. If
Hmm.
without COVID, assuming COVID is fixed by whenever it is, I think it would, because if it's like at the MCG and there's 100,000 people packed in there already to run down and uh, I guess flood the field, I don't see how any amount of security is going to stop 100,000 people. I know I've said to both of my parents, if ever in my lifetime there is a player that's going to be close to kicking 100, I'm going to all of those games and going to try and get onto the field. But we'll see, I guess. My grade for Sydney is a C. I think they should go after more young talent to fill with to go along with the talent they've already got. But I do have a question for you. I saw in a news article, I think it was written in the Herald Sun, that Sydney might be closer to a premiership than Carlton. And my question to you is, who do you think is closer out of the two of them?
I'd have to say Carlton. I think if Sydney managed to lure Joe Danaher, they could threaten Carlton a little bit. But Carlton have just got so many great players. Sammy Walsh, who had an outstanding year this year. Paddy Cripps wasn't his usual self, but he has to some day and age become the player he was last year. And I'd have to say Carlton, I think. Darce, would you agree?
To be honest, I think I might be swaying towards Sydney. They do have a lot of the players in the high 20s, who are very good players. Their backline's very good. You get a healthy team. You have Buddy Papley up forward with some of the young blokes around them. I reckon they could go for a deep finals run next year if they all stay fit and healthy.
For me, obviously I'm biased, but I think Carlton would definitely have to fumble the bag if we weren't to win a premiership with our current list. We've got so many young players, and it's not just like the young players that people talk of, like Adelaide have young players and even Sydney have young players. It's the quality of the players that we've got. I mean, Curnow, I can see him, if he gets fit, he could kick 50 goals in any given season. Harry Mackay could kick 50 goals. Walsh is a star. And we've got people that are looking to come. We've seen Williams and Saad, they're looking to come. And just recently, there's been trade rumours of Clayton Oliver coming. I'm not sure how likely that would be, but if it was to happen, it would be great for us.
I will say, I think Mitch McGovern should go in the back line like his brother and become another star for them. And Sydney, they always manage to pull out a miracle save dating back to Tony Lockett, point after the siren. They've had Nick Davis come to save us. That was unbelievable. So, they could pull a rabbit out the hat and win a final or two and maybe do a 2016 Western Bulldogs and take it all.
Just on Mitch McGovern, you briefly dropped that he was on. You think he should go to the back line. I think he might be better in the back line, but I don't think that's really an available option at Carlton because, I mean, you look at our tall defenders, we've got Liam Jones, Lockie Plowman, Caleb Marchbank, who's an absolute star, and when he is fit, he will 100% be in our best 22. Jacob Wiedering, as well as even Williamson's over 190 centimetres, but plays more small. I don't really think there's room in our backline for McGovern, but hopefully you can pull it together in the forward line.
Just quickly, what do we reckon about Carlton's apparent tactics to have about 5 back flanks next season?
Yeah, I think
about that.
If I was Nick Newman, I wouldn't be feeling very happy or very very confident very confident with keeping my spot. I think Doherty, he's going to be a lock to get a game. Adam Sard and Williams if they get them over, but I think Carlton are very interested at either playing Williams on a wing or on ball. So that's one less for Carlton.
We've kind of gone off track. I gave Sydney a D+, but I do want to give a shout out to Jacob Wiedering. I think he should have made the squad. He had a substantial role this year, and he's going to be deadly in years to come.
Yeah, he's an absolute star. I think he's going to be winning the Carlton Best and Fairest, in my opinion.
Now to the mighty West Coast Eagles, and I'll let Darce kick it off with this one.
So West Coast had a great season, bit of a norm for them. Doesn't look like they're slowing down that much. They had very solid home and away season. They racked up 12 wins and only really missed out on the top four by percentage. I wouldn't say any of their players looking like they're aging too much. They've still got very solid team in pretty much all positions on the field.
My pros for West Coast is Nick Naitanui. He looks to be in career best form and made an All-Australian team, as well as re-signing Josh Kennedy, Shannon Hearn and Andrew Gaff. It looks like they're going to be running it back with the same team and hopefully less injuries.
Yeah, they started off the season a bit rusty and then had a 6-game winning streak. But just on that, the home advantage for them is so crucial. But do you think their inability to play interstate will harm them in the coming years?
See, I don't think so. I think that's been a topic of conversation for a long, long time now. As you said, they were very good at home. I think it was 11-0 until the finals, where they lost their first and only game for the season on the West Coast. But I don't think that their ability to play interstate is that big of a negative. I thought it was for a long time, but then they won a grand final. So I think after they won the grand final, your opinion sort of has to change. They won on the biggest stage in the state of football. And
From the boundary line.
I reckon they have done enough by now to sort of rid that whole sort of idea around them being unable to win interstate. This year obviously wasn't great, but this year was a bit different for everyone. So every other year they aren't horrible elsewhere.
My cons for West Coast, I think Tim Kelly was a little bit underwhelming given what they gave up for him, as well as injuries. Yo McGovern, particularly towards the end of the season, Yo McGovern and Kennedy all got injured going into the finals. And I think they had 4 or 5 more people that were tests going into the first final. So as well as being such a great team with such a great list and not being able to win a final. So it's a D+ for me, which sounds very harsh, but yeah, given their list not to win a final, a bit of a letdown.
Yeah, I've given the Eagles a C, but next year they'll come back harder, they'll come back stronger, and with the home advantage, they had it this year, but Tim Kelly will come back stronger, and I think they'll be up there once again. And I don't really understand how they managed to lose against Collingwood, considering their 11-0 record, but apart from their loss in the finals, a good year to look at.
That was by far Collingwood's best game this season, though. So it took a huge performance like that just to knock West Coast off at home.
Yeah. On to the last team of the 18 teams, the 3-part series, the Western Bulldogs. Zave, you want to kick it off?
My pros for the Bulldogs, Bontempelli, I've been on him all year. I think he's an elite player. And Jack McRae and Caleb Daniel all being All-Australians as well. Also, Bailey Smith was outstanding this year and really broke out for them.
Yeah, Mitch Wallace as well. He's become a permanent forward and he's been a masterstroke for them. His accuracy for kicking and he's just really handy to have down there. But on the negative side, I think Josh Bruce was somewhat futile. A big acquisition from the Saints and he just didn't have the biggest impact. So for me, that's a negative. And I don't really understand with the midfield they have to not win against the Saints, but just to not have a higher position on the ladder. But that's just me. I know Bontempelli's a gun, Dunkley's a gun, who was out for some of the year. McRae's a gun. I could go for on years and years. Caleb Daniel, but I'll stop there. And I don't know. I don't really understand.
Just leading on from you saying how they should have finished higher. So I was having a look at it. Out of the 7 games against other top 8 sides, I want you to both guess. How many games do you reckon the Dogs won? Against other top 8 sides? 2? What's yours, Xavier?
Yeah, 2 or 3.
They won 1 game against West Coast, which was by 2 points.
Yeah.
So that there is the biggest thing for me. They only beat 1 top 8 side, and it was only by 2 points. So
yeah, obviously that's not great for them. But my cons for the Bulldogs is the Joshes. I mean, Josh Dunkley was very good, but he was injured for a long time. But in particular, Josh Shackey and Josh Bruce. Shackey didn't come along at all this year. and Bruce wasn't quite who they wanted him to be. I think he started off the year slow, and then he had that big bag of 6. I can't quite remember who it was again.
I reckon he kicked 6 against North.
Yeah, but when he kicked 6, that was people thought it might have been a turning point, but since then he was actually even worse than his start of the season.
Yeah.
He was averaging less than a goal a game, and I don't think that the Bulldogs can get it done with him as their second tall. Obviously, Aaron Norton is a very, 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 very good player and can be their key forward in the future. But I think if they could land someone like Danaher, it would help them out. And obviously, with the midfield that they've got being one of the better midfields, if not the best midfield in the league, kicking it down someone like Danaher and Norton's throats, they can score more and maybe beat more of those top 8 teams you were talking about, Darcy.
I believe the loss of Jack Redpath as well may have hurt them. He was a big, solid forward who created a target. But yeah, they'll have to figure out why their forward line was so dysfunctional this year and get back on track next year, because their list is there. They just have to try and work out a game style.
My grade for the Bulldogs is a B, and I do have a take. I said I might have a take for us in our group chat last week, and my take is that even though I've been riding Bontempelli all year, I think Dangerfield might be better. His last 2 or 3 weeks have been insane. Obviously, we all know the player he is in the midfield, but when he moves forward, he's incredible. Their final and their last game, the final just been and the last game of the home and away season was incredible. The way he drew so many defenders, his burst away speed from a one-on-one, his ability to kick goals. I think he kicked 4 in both, and just win games himself. I think he's the best player in the league again for mine.
I gave the Bulldogs a C+. Once again, it's astounding how they're not a better team, but I'll leave it at that. Darce, what's your grade for them?
I gave them a B-. Just quickly, who are you taking? Just basically just a straight answer. Who are you taking, Dangerfield or Martin?
Dangerfield. I've been outspoken on this. We've had Bailey on the podcast before, and he's the biggest Dustin Martin fan, and he thinks he's better than Dangerfield. But Dangerfield does things that Martin can't do and has never been able to do. His pack marking ability is elite. We saw in the final we saw him take the ball in the middle and take 2 or 3 bounces and kick one from the top of the square from running from the center of the square. And Martin doesn't have the breakaway speed, the contested marking. I think Dangerfield, and I don't think it's that close, to be honest.
I will say one of the colossal differences between Dangerfield and Dustin Martin is the goal kicking and just the kicking in general. Dusty has some pinpoint accuracy, and Dangerfield tends to miss a fair amount of set shots. But Dusty is an unbelievable player nonetheless. Me personally, I'd take Danger.
I agree with the last bit that you said, Dylan, where you said you take Danger, but I disagree with the kicking. You said he was a poor set shot, which is 100% true. He's one of the worst in the league, in fact. But his field kicking is elite, Dangerfield. His ability to kick off both right and left is insane.
Yeah.
And we've seen in the last few weeks, he's hit, I think Mitch Duncan in particular, he's hit him a few times for easy goals off his left boot, which I find incredible.
Yeah, Danger's actually a better goal kicker on the run than set shot, which is pretty funny to me. Darce, anything else to say?
Not really. No.
Dave?
Nothing from me, Dylan.
I'm not going to let you get into the NBA because I don't want to talk about it. But Darce, thanks for joining. And we'll get another AFL episode out. We'll sort out a topic. We'll get that out to you. Hopefully you enjoy this content. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.